Yay. We didn't need AI to solve it.
Go ahead and talk into it and see people in the back.
Hello. People, can y'all hear me? Great.
Okay.
Well, great.
Okay.
That's what happens when you have a very loud voice. It just carries everywhere.
Let's see what.
Ta-da. Hopefully anybody online can hear me.
And I'm gonna get started.
Okay.
All right. Hello and welcome. I'm glad to see you here today. If you are wondering what this presentation is and you're out in the library and you're curious, today we are giving a presentation on getting started with AI, what ChatGPT can and can't do. Feel free to come down and sit as long as you want. This is going to be about an hour and a half with a half hour for questions. We encourage you to pull out your phone or any other electronic device to follow along. And also, if you can't remember it or want to review it later, it will be online on our YouTube channel, live streamed, and know that there are folks watching at home. My name is April Younglove. I'm the Adult Services librarian here, not the librarian, a librarian here. There are multiple of us, and I help do a lot of programming like this, and I'm glad to see you. If you enjoy this program, be sure to come back for other programs that we have like this. I wanted to let you know that in the future, we'll be starting a series about AI with more workshops over at the Adult Community Center. So keep an eye on our announcements, and you'll find out more about that soon. So we have two distinguished individuals here today to talk to you. Terrence Scott.
Hello. That's me.
Terrence Scott, who is an instructional design manager and adjunct instructor at Portland State University. I have the paper because I have to read that title. I couldn't memorize it. It's very long and important. And Shaw Millerman, the technical program manager and data systems specialist at PSU. And I'm very thankful to both of these people because we were being actually inundated with requests to have a class exactly like this. And right during that time period when I was putting my thinking cap on about switching over from instructional classes that were just about AI, which is what we have been offering, to how does it work, how do you use it, these two people contacted me and I said, amazing, please come. So without too much further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to these two.
Well, thank you for coming. Like April said, there's a lot of flexibility that we have during this session for this next 2 hours. We have plenty of slides. There's 20 or so, maybe more slides. But if there's things that you want to talk about, we're happy absolutely to pivot. We can move past slides. But we've got a lot of time for demos also. So we do want you to have your phones, be trying things out. We're going to have prompts up for you, ideas for what to enter into the AI. But we'll just jump into it right now. We got a nice little title slide. Since we built it, we'll pause on it for a second just to give it its own little space. Okay, that's probably enough. All right, so here's just a little bit about us. Terrence, you want to say anything else about yourself?
I have been working in adult education for 4 years now. I just recently graduated with my master's in adult learning and education, so I really like to, especially with the instructors that I work with on a regular basis, try to incorporate how do you take new technologies that are evolving constantly and put them in front of the students, in front of the people who are going to be using them in their everyday lives, in their work, and so I thought that this was really a cool opportunity to express how cool I think AI is with a hint of caution.
Yeah, that's great. And my name is Shaw Millerman. She already said that, but I worked in tech companies for 15 years, mostly in operations. In the last 5 years in business analytics, and how to answer questions with data. And then I moved into higher education. That's been about 3 years. Oops, I think I bumped it just now.
The wind.
Oh, it's the wind. Okay. So yeah, so I've been teaching now for about 3 years, and about that time, that's really when AI started taking off, and the students want to know about AI right now. The dean wants to be talking about AI, so it's a really interesting time to be here. The world is obviously changing very, very quickly right now, and so that's why we wanted to give an opportunity to talk at some space that you can feel safe to practice in and do all the experimentation that you want to do and ask all the questions that you have about artificial intelligence, because there's a lot. Everybody has questions. We have questions. Everybody has questions. So, well, they're ready to jump into it. Let's do this. All right.
So one thing that we like to do is we want to set a kind of common ground for everybody here, because I don't know any of you. I don't know how many of you know each other, but this is a new technology. It might be new to all of us, and some of us may be coming here with more experience than others. So kind of a little bit of ground rules that we like to set are, we want to make sure that there's no shame. You know, again, we're all coming here with different levels of experience, so no question is quote unquote stupid. Feel free to ask it. We are teachers, so we get questions all the time. And please know that we will go as slow as we can. And if we get to a point where we're going too fast, please just raise your hand and ask us to slow down. And then know that you're going to make mistakes. We always make mistakes. This is how we get to where we're at, and we wouldn't be here if we weren't a mistake. So, and then the last thing, so just to keep us on schedule, because we are the hosts, we are going to do our best to keep us on track. And so if we start to talk into too many tangents, which is what I like to do, Shaw will bring us back and make sure that we are good. So with that said, does anybody have anything that they would like to add to that?
We know that people want to talk about the different kinds of AI, from Gemini to ChatGPT. Is there any other questions that people have right now that we can try to pepper in as we're going through?
Just a general question about accuracy of AI.
Sure.
When I ask an open-ended question about, some medical question, it seems authoritative. But then when I ask maybe a library question, it'll give me completely the wrong, what's it called, hallucination.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder if the medical advice is right, if the just
That's great.
step up and
That's a great question. We definitely have some slides.
I'd just be so careful
on
about that. So.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the warning piece of it.
Yep.
And yeah, there's definitely some things, the things you can do to keep yourself safe. Yeah.
Also safety issues as far as personal information.
Yeah. Great. That's a great question. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. We'll do
Great.
that. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
We want to start with a little bit of historical context here on AI, because it does feel like it sort of came out of nowhere, right? It happened very fast. Suddenly we woke up one morning and everybody was talking about ChatGPT. And so we just wanted to spend a couple minutes and talk a little bit about how, even though it may seem like it's very sudden, AI has actually been in our lives for quite a while. Terrence, you want to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. So can you raise your hand if you've ever used Siri or any sort of phone assistant? And how long have you used it before 2023? Maybe a couple years, few years? Okay. What about autocomplete when you're writing an email? If it predicts the word that you're trying to say, or if it predicts the sentence that you're trying to write, whether it's correct or not. It should be, absolutely.
Is it because it's wrong, or you don't like what it's saying, or yeah, it just doesn't jive? Oh, then it does.
Exactly. And for many of us who drive, we use GPS and how to get from one place to another. I remember having the books in my car growing up and telling my mom how to get from one place to the next. I got really good at reading those maps. I forget what they were called, but the
Thomas.
they still sell them, and they still keep them updated. So you don't always have to use GPS, which is great. More importantly, though, a lot of us are online shoppers. So how many times have we gotten emails from Amazon saying, "Do you want to buy this?" Or from Netflix, "Do you want to watch this movie?" Or anything like that. That is all artificial intelligence, not in the kind of
Generative.
definition. It's not the generative artificial intelligence, but it is artificial intelligence nonetheless.
Definitely an early version,
Exactly.
earliest version.
So,
Oh, yeah, I got a question
please.
here.
I see a lot of YouTube videos with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
They show those beautifully presentable people, doctors and stuff.
kind of like fake people, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Certain authority or something that they know the subject.
Yeah, we're not talking about very much about image generation or video generation today, but we could spend a little bit of time
Yeah,
at
in the future, for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely put that in.
But the general kind of thinking of it is it didn't come out of nowhere. It didn't come in 2023 when ChatGPT hit the market and everybody started using it. And it's not what we generally think of as generative AI. It's involved in our lives. It's impacted our lives in many ways when we wouldn't even think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really the difference here, I think, as we think of the AI that we're using today, is we were Googling before, right? But it was just sending us back links. Now we're talking to AI, and that's the big difference. Now we get to have a conversation with Google. So here's just a slide to talk a little bit about how AI did not come out of nowhere. This research goes back to, this is even earlier, back to the 1940s. In fact, Alan Turing, who a lot of people know was the person who cracked the Enigma code, was an early researcher in artificial intelligence. So, right, we're talking about decades of research that was happening, a lot sort of underground. We just, it was in academic journals. It just wasn't something that, people weren't reading academic journals. So we've got a lot, right? We talk about AI winters right now and how it's just moving really slow, the research. And then we have spikes where some innovation comes out, and then it sort of kind of goes back to a plateau. Well, things started happening, in fact, in about 2017 right here. This slide's a little bit, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened in 2017. But this slide talks a lot about how fast usage of ChatGPT and AI went up. In fact, this slide kind of illuminates better than anything, which is, we think of, in tech right now, they use this, how long does it take to get to 50 million or 100 million users? Here's how long it took the telephone to get to 100 million years, and every other sort of technological innovation that's happened, not every, but a lot of technological innovations that have happened over the last, 100 plus years. 2 months to 100 million users, which is just staggering, right, to think about how quickly that technology can spread.
And it continues to grow. Today, that number is probably a lot more than 100 million now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any questions, though, so far? I like the questions in between, because I can just keep talking and talking, so interrupt and ask those questions. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking what the fire department is now saying is to have paper maps in the event that during a real emergency, we won't have electronic maps.
Yeah, that's a really good
Interesting to know.
suggestion.
I didn't know that. Good to know now.
Well, Terrence was talking about is it the Thomas Guide? What are the names?
I don't know.
Right? But it's a lot better than having to stop at the gas station and ask for directions. You get the guy who tells you the wrong way and got to stop again. Okay, well then let's talk quickly then about, because there's ChatGPT, and the GPT is an acronym, right? And so just to give this a little bit of a background, do you want to start? Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, so the GPT, this is not very important for you to remember, but this is where AI is different from how it used to be to where it is now. So it is generative. So it is, I'm just going to read it verbatim, it creates text, drafts replies, or recipes by guessing mathematically the most probable next words in a series. So what it's doing is it's scraping the entire internet for people who have talked about, for example, Italy, right? And depending on the question that you're asking, it tries to predict what it is that you want. And so it will output, if you type in Italy, it will output facts, it will output how to travel there, it'll output, maybe a couple images of what Italy might look like. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't know your context yet. So that's where you kind of give it a little bit more, tell me a little bit more, or give it a little bit of a context about how you want to search around Italy.
That's right. But that G is very much about it's generating, right? It's not just sending you links back to events in Lake Oswego or, where should we go? It gives you the ability to ask questions back.
It's predicting what you want based on billions and billions of parameters.
Which is a perfect segue to the P, which is this recognition that it is pre-trained on billions and now trillions of parameters of data. I mean, really could think of it as the entire internet and then some research papers, academic papers, the whole, right, of the knowledge of the world. It's not exhaustive, it's not everything, but it really is pretty darn close.
And math, deep inside of its brain, quote unquote, it's a math problem. And that is a very simple way to put it, is that it's consistently trying to solve what it is that you are going to say next. Therefore, it's going to put what it is most likely that you are saying or wanting in front of you.
That's right, predictive. And that's a great segue to the T part of it, and that's the transformer. And that's sort of what I was talking about, that 2017 innovation that happened. The Google researchers published a paper in that year. It was called "Attention is All You Need." And the attention really speaks to sort of pre-2017, where prior to that, the AI was reading, just like we do, it's reading left to right, word by word. And so by the time, if it's a long paragraph, by the time it gets to that into that paragraph, it's forgotten some of the things that read at the beginning, right? And it really doesn't have a weight of what are the most important words in that sentence or in that paragraph. In 2017, that all changed. And so there's no new math that got created. There's no new algorithms that got created. This is really a software architecture solution where instead of reading left to right words, every word individually, now it reads the entire paragraph at the exact same time, and it's able to weight. It knows that subjects and verbs and nouns are the most important part of a sentence. Maybe prepositions get downgraded a little bit, but it knows contextually at the very beginning what a paragraph is about, and that's how it's able to be so much smarter now. It's not guessing, right? It knows the context of the entire paragraph at the beginning, and now, like Terrence said, now it's predicting what the outcome or the output should be based on billions and trillions of previous documents that came out before it. Is that clear? Is that any questions? It's a lot.
That was a result of Google?
Google's innovation, yeah. Everything's been open source for artificial intelligence, just about everything. It's only in the era now of ChatGPT that there's for-profit companies. Now they're locking down the code a little bit. But prior to the last 4 or 5 years, everything was open source and free and available to the public, anybody that wanted to look. Okay. There we go. And so I know there's a lot of buzzwords. We hesitated to have this slide, but we just wanted to give a little more context because there's a lot of sort of terms that have been coming out in the last 5 years or more, like machine learning and deep learning. And so we wanted to have a little bit just to show where generative AI fits in the context of artificial intelligence, because that kind of is the big umbrella concept that we're talking about now is artificial intelligence. And Terrence, you want to talk about a little bit about the?
Yeah. So the exact definition of artificial intelligence is that it is a branch of computer science and engineering focused on creating systems capable of performing complex tasks that typically require human cognition. These tasks include learning, reasoning, problem solving, perception, and decision making. So these systems are designed to map complex human inputs in order to generate responses purely based on calculated probability distributions rather than factual verification. This is where, going back to that deep brain of AI, it's all a math problem. Or a math equation, excuse me, where it is trying to predict what you want and what ultimately billions of other people have asked for the same exact thing. And this is where you have to be very cautious and know that it's not predicting or generating new information. It's generating information that it's basically scraped an entire website or an entire internet for what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah. And then this chart right here just speaks to each one of these would represent a subset. So if artificial intelligence is the overarching discipline, a subset of artificial intelligence would be the machine learning part of it. And this is where we don't have to teach the computer or the AI anymore. It's learning on its own. There's no human instruction that goes into this anymore. The machine knows. We fed it enough data. Now we're feeding it data and letting it do its own learning. The word starts to get a little scary. And then deep learning, again, is another subset under that. That's where you've started to hear, maybe you've heard of neural networks, which are computer networks loosely designed on the structure of the neurons, the way the neurons are in the brain as well. It's just kind of an analogy. And then, and then the generative piece came out of that. This is the ChatGPT and the Gemini. All right. Good. Oh. Yeah, so this is, we wanted to bring a couple slides from headlines. These are just in the last, few months, I was going to say. That one's about 5 months ago. This, we talk a lot about, the impact of artificial intelligence. And so I know I have kids, and I think about what AI is going to do for their careers right now and how it's going to impact their college careers and everything else. And so we brought this slide here to talk a little bit about, because there's pros and cons to ChatGPT or artificial intelligence in general. Excuse me, get a little hoarse. This one right here is sort of, in fact, the next slide speaks to it. I think it's the next slide. We've been cutting some slides to try to keep this going a little bit. But this one right here, this first one I'll just talk very briefly about. This was 2 months ago here, where the concern about artificial intelligence, especially in schools right now, is they're getting results back. They're asking questions of the AI, they're getting results back, and they're just copying and pasting it straight into a homework assignment. And it's happening at work as well, right? And so a couple concerns on this. Number one, when they've done brain scans of people as they're using AI and just copying and pasting, there's literally no brain activity that's happening when you're doing that. That's a danger, right? Because school, you're learning critical thinking skills, right? You're just staring at the screen. You're there to learn how to write, your cognitive abilities are developing. And so that's sort of the big thing. But what I think is interesting is the concern that we talk about at the university is mostly that, are they robbing themselves of this learning experience, right? My kids tell me all the time, you use AI, why can't? Well, because I've been, for 40 years, I've been writing and reading and doing everything, and they're still learning that. So that's one of the sort of the red flags for us that we kind of want to bring up at the beginning. This one was Fortune magazine, and this was from Forbes. And this other one here too is it's not specifically about AI, although it lends itself to it, but this idea that human attention, in 20, 30 years ago was about 75 to 100 seconds before the brain might start moving on or looking for novelty or new things, and you go every couple years now and it's down to 7, 15 seconds, something like this. And so the Ivy League now is talking about how there's still obviously in the Ivy League, it's rigorous coursework. The teachers are great, obviously, but that's not their great advantage that they're saying now. What they're saying now is our graduates are graduating with the ability to have focus and sustained attention, and that is the greatest gift of the Ivy League right now. And I think that's a powerful lesson for those using AI, anybody on cell phones, right, all day, every day. That is the greatest danger here. When it becomes too easy, right? It replaces our cognitive abilities, and when you don't use something right, you start to lose it.
That's the thing that I try to teach in my classes, and I teach a business research class, is that our brains like to take the easiest way out. It's our brains don't like struggle. We don't like to critically think. And so AI is a very capable tool of making sure that we don't have to critically think. And so we want to make sure that we're setting up students for success to use AI, because their jobs are going to ask them to use AI, but also in a way that still allows them to, I mean, I don't have 40 years of writing experience, but I have 20 years of, school and writing and drawing and all this other stuff that I like to do as a human. And AI has come in and completely, at least for me, flipped that on my head, because I'm asked to use AI in my job. And so I need to make sure on my own accord to go out and read my own books and watch my own videos and do my own thing, because my job is asking me to do this, and students' jobs that we are teaching them are going to ask them to do this. So we, as instructors, try to balance this need to be the human in the loop at all times.
And I hope that's our next slide also. Oh boy, did I have that? Let me skip ahead real quick to see. Nope, I did take that slide out about the, I'm blanking on, about the, yeah. Okay, well, we'll skip. There's a lot we could go. This makes me think of the 50 different directions that we could go in right now. Okay, well, let's keep going. But I did think this was interesting, because we hear about the concern with students, but it actually is impacting careers now at all, if they're or impacting careers as well, which is interesting, I think, too, because if you are just copying and pasting straight at work, it's very obvious when people are just using AI, and that's what I tell my students all the time. By the way, there's certain signs, certain signals that are telltale signs that somebody's been using artificial intelligence. It's not always completely obvious, but there are very clear signs. And so for me, it's, and sometimes if I'm using AI, it can take actually longer to solve than if I was doing it by myself, because it really becomes a conversation back and forth with the artificial intelligence. We'll talk more about that. I started going off a little tangent there real quick. I'm going to bring myself back. All right, let's talk about this.
Yeah, so let's just pause real quick. We threw a lot of information at you. So before we throw more information at you, let's take a moment just to breathe and ask any questions, thoughts that have come up. Yeah, please.
On
Please.
iPad,
Yeah.
and Safari,
Yeah.
using Google,
Mhm.
they're already doing AI.
Mhm.
Which I've been using.
Mhm.
What's the name of that one?
That is Gemini. So Google's.
Wait, it was Apple, though?
Well, it's
You're on the iPad, but using
Safari.
Safari, okay.
And you do the Google search, and then it has Google AI at the top, and then it has a bunch of links. So Google has its own AI called Gemini. You can use it. They have started to incorporate their Gemini into their search engine. So it adds a little bit more context to what it is that you're trying to search, rather than just giving you a link to click on and you kind of having to parse that information on your own. Yeah, please, in the back.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming here and talking to us. I guess overall, from what I've heard, I missed the beginning of it, I just simply want to say that when you cite headlines and people in academia who have issues with how to grade their kids, I think we're missing the biggest issue, which is, look at us. We live in a completely different world. My experience going to a doctor or getting information, I'm smart enough to know that it's not 100% accurate. If kids want to cheat, they've always been able to cheat.
Oh,
When I was a kid, they could cheat. But I don't know about you guys, but when I use AI, I learn a lot.
Yeah.
And so I do think two things. I think that my father was a teacher, and I think his thought would be, as long as the kids are learning,
Yeah.
that's where the prize is, not whether they're cheating or that you can't have enough grade accuracy. That'll catch up with them at some part in their life.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I agree. I couldn't agree more. In fact, I feel like I've learned so much just using it. If I have a question about it, that ability to ask the follow-up questions and sort of go down other rabbit holes. It's that curiosity, that human curiosity, is just a natural part of us. It lets you explore that.
I really think that the media is fearful. It's got a lot of misinformation out
Yeah.
there. And you can read these stories about how ghastly AI is and all the horrible things it's going to do to us. And then at the very end, it says something like, well, that's pretty good, too.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the media's, and I'm not blaming anybody, I'm just simply saying they like stories that scare the crap
That's
out
right.
of us.
Yeah. It gets clicks, it
And
gets views.
Yeah, we definitely had parts of this where we, had like 2 or 3 slides that were just, negative about AI. But that's not our goal here. Our goal is to show you all kind of what the differences are and how you can best use it in your lives. Because it is great all the time.
It's like any technology. There's nothing inherently good about it or inherently bad about it.
Correct.
It's how you use the
Correct.
tool.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I was growing up, we had a son encyclopedia.
Yeah.
I never, and I don't know that my parents ever questioned the sources, but, one of you said, my question is, who's feeding the information? How do we fact check?
And that, yeah,
And maybe getting into that later, but I'll read something and I think, wow, this is great, but then I'm thinking too hard and wondering whether
your spidey senses go off. You start to question of like,
Yeah.
is this? And I am the same way, and it gets very. I mean, I am on the internet all the time, and it gets very tiring. Like reading something and like, do I need to open up another tab to go find 3 or 4 other articles that are backing it
To
up?
verify,
And I think that's part of the world that we live in, not necessarily because of AI. I think that's just the internet as a whole.
Yeah, that's true.
And people who have access to the internet will be able to put anything and everything that they want on there.
Plus, internet is an echo chamber. You can search and get the same information almost a different website.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Well, and the fact that there's a lot of bias and misinformation on the internet, and it's been trained on all of that data. And so we've given it, the developers have given it guardrails. We know, like, there's a constitution for AI that says, do not hurt humans.
Yep.
And then there's a couple more. And then the very last one is, if any of those violate number 1, ignore it. We should not hurt humans. But even within that, the bias pops into responses sometimes, and that they're working on things like that.
At the end, we have kind of a red light, green light kind of thing that you can think about as you're using AI, and then you can kind of be like, okay, red light is coming up in my head. I'll go search elsewhere for its green light. We'll go through all of that.
Yeah, we will.
At the end. So,
because that's one of the things, too. You can ask for the sources of the AI. If you ask the question and then please include the sources where you've got, and verify. But we'll talk more about that. Yeah, there's a question here, too.
What's disturbing to me is I use ChatGPT a lot. I started using it for Spanish. I have a friend in Mexico, and we're doing intercambio, so
Nice.
really helpful for that.
Yeah.
So it knows I go to Mexico. I ask a question about a Mexican coffee that I got from where it come from. It knows I like coffee. If I ask a question about my car, it knows I have a Prius. The other day it's going, I asked about coffee. Oh yeah, I really like coffee too. I like to take a break, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's like,
becomes a little humanistic, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
it knows how old I am.
Yeah.
It knows where I live.
Yeah.
It knows where I vacation. That's very scary.
There's a lot that come out of that point right there, because when the AI is using that data to train future models, right? Anything that we put into the AI, it's going to be used by the company to train. They want to know how you're using it, what kind of questions you're asking, what follow-up questions you're asking. That's a big part of it. But it is all anonymized. That's one thing that you can be confident about. But there is, like I think Terrence was starting to say, about some safety.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that the internet's been around since 2001, 2002, and before, we've all done Google searches, we've all done AOL chats we've all done. Think the first time you did something online, that data has been saved for decades, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, the AI, it's a little bit weird how quickly how it knows you. And I mean, my ChatGPT has 3 or 4 years of school of research of other things that I've done, and so it knows who I am as an instructional designer, as a person. It is a little bit weird, but I also am I don't talk to it like a human. I just use it like a tool, like it is. So yeah.
The knowledge that it has about us makes it more effective. Right, because it knows now that context that you go to Mexico, and you might see a response later in that says, "Oh, and since you travel to Mexico, you might find this useful." And it's like, well, yeah, that is very useful. It's
We
a
have
little unnerving,
question
isn't it? Yeah.
up front first before.
Oh, okay.
Up here, you had a question?
So you're basically saying that AI is just like a really complex statistical modeling, basically can't really think on its own.
Yes.
It's a good way of saying
Yes.
it. Yes.
Yes, I
It's
like to refer
probability.
to artificial intelligence, quote unquote, as algorithmic intelligence because it's an algorithm. It's predicting what it is that you are trying to say next or what it is that you want.
Yeah.
So,
Then-
yeah, please.
This gentleman's point, can you erase your conversation
Uh-huh.
with AI?
Uh-huh.
Can you delete anything?
The memory.
Yep.
Yeah.
Each AI tool has the ability to go into the settings. It's buried, so sometimes you have to, you might have to Google search how to do it. But yes, they're all of them. Even your Facebook account has the ability to delete all of the data.
Now, that would just delete it from your local instance of ChatGPT or the AI. It wouldn't delete it, the record of it that exists in the servers. Right, in the Dalles or in Cupertino, wherever it might be, that still lives there. But which is a good point. We have a slide to talk about like some of the things that maybe best not to include.
Yeah.
But it's similar to the instructions that you might get on what happens when somebody calls you saying that your tax bill is late, even though you're pretty sure that you didn't make that, don't have a late tax bill. No. Okay, you want to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a question earlier about what is better to use, either ChatGPT or Google for that. And so we just kind of wanted to throw a few out there. So you would use ChatGPT, Google, if you wanted to find out where the library was. You would use ChatGPT if you wanted to draft a thank you note to the library for hosting these classes. Thanks, April. You could use Google for checking the weather, understanding
right now.
kind of like right now factual information. You could use ChatGPT to understand questions about. You would ask your doctor if you're experiencing something. Say, I'm feeling chest pain. Maybe that's not the best idea. You should probably call 911.
Yeah.
If you're, if you're, have a scab or something and you kind of wanted have a doctor's appointment, you could be like, what questions would I best ask the doctor to get the best resolution? Important for medical advice, so you can ask Google where the portal for your Medicare or Social Security or whatever that might be is. However, you don't want to ask ChatGPT to explain your factual information. So it says there, explain a confusing medical term. That is very different from taking a picture of a bill that you got and feeding it to ChatGPT and saying, explain whatever this is. That would be more of, I'm going to type in this term, and I'm going to say, can you explain what this means? And then the last one, kind of if you want to find a local plumber or anybody to fix your house, you would use Google or Yelp. But if you want to compare a number of different places that came over and gave you, what is that? Why can't I think of that word? Quotes. If you want to compare quotes, that would be a really good way of using ChatGPT.
It's hard to be completely prescriptive about these things too. I think there's overlap in these where you might end up using I'm trying to think of an example, but you might be looking for a local service person. The AI does have access to all the Google reviews that you might see online and might be able to quickly see if they have a specialty in one area or another. So, but I think this is a really good starting place, especially if you have zero experience with AI right now. It's a really good sort of, scannable list. All right. Let's see. Where does that take us? Okay. Oh yeah, we did. I put this back in here. Before we started, a couple people had actually 2 or 3 people asked about this, and how do you choose between the 3? There's 3 big ones that are out there right now, the AIs that people are using. ChatGPT, obviously the first one that came out. It was at least a year. I feel like I can't remember now how long ChatGPT was out before. Gemini dropped. And then Claude, of course, came after that. And these are the companies, right? The owners or the developers of the products. So OpenAI is the company, Anthropic is the company, and then of course everybody knows Google. This is not an evergreen slide because developments are happening every week, every day, every month, and so as it exists right now. And we're going to share this deck, by the way. April, you'll be able to put it on the website. Is that how it works, or will we be able to share this deck with people? Oh, yeah.
So I can put a link where you can download this directly on our events calendar, and you click on the title of this event, and then I'll add a link, but give me 24 hours.
Thank you. So this is true for how it is right now, but in 3 months, 6 months, it could be different. Yeah.
Under Claude, where the bottom one says, summarize these complex HOA rules and guidelines, would that be a free or a paid?
Yeah, all of these have free versions that are great. Yeah, unless you're doing complex. Which one? Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's nothing that you can't. The paid versions of all of these tools give you access to the newer models, just meaning the most recent, up to date. The fastest, more trained on more data, for example. I think for most of the way that all of us use AI, you wouldn't notice a difference between the free and the paid versions. Yeah.
You don't have perplexity on that.
Yeah, we don't. There's a couple other ones. What's the one I always use? I'm blanking on the name of it.
Copilot.
Copilot. I forgot about that. Yeah, Copilot's another one. Notebook LM. That's the other one I was thinking of. Yeah, I mean these are kind of the 3. These are the 3 biggest ones. Is that one you use quite a bit?
And Mexico uses that. I use ChatGPT.
Perplexity
Okay.
is really good for like research specific. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, people talk about Claude being a great one for natural writing, for mimicking what a human actually sounds like when they're writing. So that one's really popular. Gemini, I think I'm trying to remember which one has the best. I mean, I don't know if anybody's coding right now, but that's Gemini's. All of these are great for code generation. But yeah, ChatGPT I think has kind of fallen behind since it first came out. Gemini, people generally consider Gemini as the best model right now for just a general purpose.
What does the academic community, like the universities and Allison universities, use?
We use Gemini. The PSU uses Gemini. I think every university probably has its own.
At Oregon State, they use Copilot, so it just varies based on, money and contracts and all of that.
Yeah, I use Gemini right now. ChatGPT to me is a little frustrating because there's ads. You're starting to see ads come through now. Yeah. Well, the advantage is the memory, because if it does start to remember things about you, it uses that context later on, and that's what's the power of AI is about the context that it knows already, and it can use that context to inform your future questions and give you even more specific answers. Otherwise, it can be very general, right? The results that you get back, and the more specific, I think generally people find us more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So I use ChatGPT mostly because I've been using it for the last several years, so it's trained to know my voice and the type of work that I do.
they're all going to have the similar errors. I think, from one to the other, yeah, I think they're all going to be great for summarized complex documents. That error of you want to send it to the Chicago office, I think that's more of a, probably could be some new. It's hard to know without kind of looking specifically into it. But that's when Terrence talks about human in the loop, that's exactly what's so important about the AI, because we get a lot of information out of it, but you really have to verify, for any information. Terrence talked about medical. I know people that have gotten information from doctors, right, and kind of blown off. A doctor's they've seen it all, right, and it's like, well, it's nothing, I'm sure it's fine. And then it's like, well, no, I think something's actually not fine. And if you use AI to start to diagnose, and start to look for other areas, and then they can take that information to their doctor, like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe this. And so there's plenty of examples where it actually can be powerful for, whether it's, health issues that you might be having, but yeah, the human in the loop for medical, for legal, anything, financial data, right? You cannot trust it 100%. It's a tool. It's a predictive tool, right? It's just mathematical probability, very good at, trained on billions and now trillions of parameters. But at the end of the day, if there's missing information that that it doesn't have, it's not gonna. It doesn't stop and say, "Uh-oh, I'm missing something." It's a probability. It's math. So it's going to look for the most probable. Right, the next probable word, not the most accurate. It's not thinking about what's true or what's accurate. It's in predicting what should be the next word that comes.
And ChatGPT or any of the AI tools want you to keep using them, so they're going to apologize when you say, wait, that's not correct. It's going to say, oh, I'm sorry, you meant this, or whatever it may be. So it wants you to keep using it. It wants you to keep training it. It wants you to continue to do that, so it will constantly, even if it is wrong, this is where you have to be very careful of using it for information where it's just too detailed,
high consequence
exactly, where just be that human recognize it, right?
But this will be a good document if you have questions. It's good to reference just to kind of look and see. Yeah.
I came in late, so I missed the beginning
It's okay.
question. So for all the different AI systems, do they basically have access to the same knowledge base of resources?
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to get the advantage that
Yeah, the answer will be using the same data, but I think people's preferences, you will get a different answer, but it's not because it's trained on different data, just because it's a different model, and they're all fine-tuned in different ways to respond to you. Oh, sorry.
like what kind of career would you give it if you wanted it to not apologize or have an apology?
You.
Like you're saying, like, I want you to talk away my position,
Yeah, let me try to pull up. Let's see if we can do this really quickly. Oh, I got my wrong glasses on. Hold on a second. I was going to try to pull something up to show there within ChatGPT. There is a setting that you can give it. You can give it information when it's responding to you. It can give you that level of detail. Oh, we already have it up right here. So, I'm not. Oh, wait, here it is. Settings. But it's not. I'm not logged in. Oh, maybe it's gonna come to it. But okay, so it won't because I'm not logged in. But when you come to settings here, there'll be something. I can't remember what the name of what the setting name is, but it's something about memory. And you might have to. Oh, you could Google where it is. But you could get information like that. Don't be apologetic. I'm trying to think of things that I've told it before.
Don't be overly friendly.
Yeah, there you go.
Overly agreeable, or yeah.
You've heard. I could tell he's, because when you have ideas, that's what Terrence was talking about. With it wants you to keep using it. It tells you your ideas are the greatest ideas. Like, oh, you're really onto something there. This is a great idea.
Unfortunately, that's not been.
Not always true.
Articles that has not panned out too well.
Yeah, but sometimes it is a great idea. Not always. Yeah. That's right.
Wouldn't that mean they would be better at being able to create fiction than the others?
You would think that necessarily, but actually Claude is the one that's supposed to be better at writing. I don't know what the status. I know all those court cases are still open right now. I don't think it's changed anything about their models and how they train data, but you're right. There's a lot of proprietary information out there. There's a lot of authors that are finding that they believe that their text has been used. Oh.
They were trained on different data. If one of the models was trained on billions of books, and then the others two aren't.
Oh, got it.
You'd think it was better at creating.
Okay. To my understanding, I don't think Claude or Gemini, they're just straight scraping. They're not using
Yeah.
non-proprietary.
Yeah, I think with OpenAI, they got caught, and I think they're in a lot of trouble for it. But I don't. Yeah, it might be better that it is better, but I also think that because of the court case, that I don't know that they can actually use that data. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
but I think because it's still pending, so
Yeah.
I don't. But it's happened in the past where they just had to not use that data.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I see what you're saying. Because you can specifically. I think if you're a author or some sort of creative creator, you might be able to go in and have your creative works removed from the training data. As far as I know, there's only one company that's taken a sort of that maybe more ethical stance, and that's Adobe, the company that's built Photoshop, the design software. They have an AI tool that helps you generate images, right, for whatever marketing or something that you're working on. They're the only company that's not using any licensed data, and they're only using open sourced or data or images that they have access to that they have appropriate licenses for. But all the other ones, as far as I know, are just scraping the internet and, essentially profiting on other people's creative works. That's I think that's a big ethical question right now. Right, it's a very visceral. Just one more like this though. Two hands, just. All right, let's look at some slides again. We're gonna get to some demos here. I can't see right, but oh, there we go. All right, oops. Let's move on. There we go. All right.
Cool. So one way to understand how ChatGPT works is to understand the different roles that it can play. So it can be an explainer. So as an example, if we wanted to explain, and if you all wanted to, you could take out your phones or take out your devices and go to ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever AI tool you're comfortable with, and we can try some of these prompts together. So I'll give people just a couple seconds here if they want to do that.
I think for new, this is good because, excuse me, for so many new people, it's infinite what you could use AI for, right? I mean, it's literally having a PhD and greater in every single discipline and right, every department of the university having that PhD at your disposal. And it's like, who do I call? Because that's what AI is, right? It's a PhD in every discipline. You just need to know how to call that expert. And so I think this is what I like. This should help. This should be a good example here.
So the explainer will obviously help explain complex topics. And so this is really good for technology terms, for news topics, for instructions. If you get a really large book from IKEA and you're like, I don't know what this is, ChatGPT can break it down for you and easier to use vocabulary. It can also help with different financial vocabulary as well as health-related things. So as an example, why don't we start a new chat and let's explain how artificial intelligence works.
Simple question.
Simple question. So just in your chat bot, simple question: how does artificial intelligence work?
I also use it for manuals. You don't know what
Yeah.
the manual for your car is.
Yeah.
Question then.
Yeah. Yes. Or they're like 80, 100 pages long. Who has time to do that?
Well, people send me articles all the time, so the explainer for me is great because I just put the link in there. I don't have time to read, for all these. Please summarize this article for me in 200 words or 300 words or less and tell me what the key takeaways are.
One bit of caution for the explainer role and for any of these roles is that anything that's health related, financial related, anything like that, don't have it make a decision for you. Have it explain things to you, and then you be the person to make the decision, or work with your family or your doctor, whoever it is, to make that decision. ChatGPT or any AI tool you should never ask it to make a decision for you.
I think as you start pulling these up, there's things to be looking at as well in terms of how useful is the information that you're getting it. Because this is a very general prompt, right? If I'm prompting, I might not be that, it's great first prompt, but I'm going to give it more context. And so we're going to do some little different prompts, showing you a few techniques in a little bit. But the thing to look at here is how long is the response, how useful is it, and how might I get a better output the next time?
Yeah.
That's the thing to keep asking yourself as you're using the AI. How can I get a better response the next time?
Yeah, you have a question?
The explainer would also be if you wanted to upload a picture. Like my sink was draining.
Yeah.
I used Drano several times. So
Yep.
I took a photo of my sink and said, I've used Drano, doesn't seem to work. I think it could be clogged hair, and I took pictures of it and said, oh, try this, and then I kept taking pictures. And I'm not handy, but after an hour and 45 minutes, I was able to dismantle everything, do exactly what it said, troubleshoot putting it all back together, which actually was the hardest part. And I've never ever done plumbing, but I fixed my sink problem. So is that kind of the same thing with explainer?
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
picture of something.
I think you're probably using a couple of different roles in here, but yeah, the explainer.
Yeah.
I love just taking a picture of a flower or a tree and asking ChatGPT or whatever what it is, because I don't know what they are, but the internet sure does.
Well, and I'm doing good. Sorry, go ahead.
So on YouTube, if you go to see about how you have a clogged drain,
Uh-huh.
you might get some misinformation.
Uh-huh.
And ChatGPT will give you.
What ChatGPT is doing a little differently, because in YouTube you're saying, help, my sink is stuck, or there's something happening. And this is where it's giving you it's going to give you, probably the most popular videos on sinks. It might be a different sink or whatever it is, washing machine, dryer. You can't match your model to the YouTube videos. But AI, if you take a picture of the make and model, then it's going to give you very specific. Now it's probably accessing a manual that's available
Yep, that's
online
what
that you
he was
might.
saying with the manuals, if you just type in your name of your car or the name of your washer, dryer, whatever it is.
Kind of prompted it after because it told me to do something. I'm like, it's not allowing me to do that. And it's like, oh, maybe your sink doesn't have that mark. And it kind of
Yep.
guided me to take another picture.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, I can do that. So it was kind of troubleshooting with taking specific
It's perfect.
and then prompting it and saying, well, that didn't work. And then it will say, okay, try. And then I'm like, oh, that works.
In a way, it's kind of like having that person in the room with you, right?
Yeah.
A little bit. So
Yeah, that's an advanced. Taking the picture, I guess I would consider it more advanced, but it's actually very easy. When you're in that box, when you type on the left-hand side on your phone, there's a plus button, and that plus button will open up a few options, and one of them is to add a picture, or you can have your camera access it from your camera,
yeah.
or just if you've already taken the picture.
Now, you can do this. I didn't log in. I don't have a ChatGPT account, but you can still use it.
ChatGPT will limit you. This is where the paid accounts. So who asked? Was it you asking about the paid accounts? This is where you start to get limited, where you might only get one photo to upload. Gemini, I'm not sure about because I actually have a paid Gemini account, but I'm not sure
I get
about
mine,
that.
Mine's paid for it too. So.
Yeah.
My ChatGPT, I'm not paid, but after 6 or 7 responses, it doesn't give me the AI. It gives me
Oh, the new model. Yeah. The older model. It's yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then after a while, I thought I need this for personal work. I'll just pay $20. Have unlimited.
Yeah, depending on how much you're using it, it could be worth it.
But yeah, go ahead, please.
Where, if you're on your iPad and the camera and you have a picture, where do you find the link?
I can look real quick. Oh, go to the, if you go, it's easier if you start at the AI tool. So she was in her photos, but if you start at the tool,
Give them your photos?
not all the photos, you can choose which photo you want to give access to. But if you were in Gemini, like in fact, yeah, right there. So you see the plus button to the left of that? Yeah, that's where you'd add. Yeah, oh, wait, but hit the plus button there. There you go. There's where you can choose files. See that? So she's in ChatGPT. Here, I'll do it real quick.
Isn't it ironic that we're in a library with all these books?
Oh, that's it is. It's not lost on all of us, is it? But if you want to see on hers really quickly, you see this right where the box is. If you hit that plus button right there, that's where it brings it up.
Fine, but on an iPad, where is it?
Let's see. So you'll need to go to.
See, here's a plus.
Oh, so you might. So there's a couple of things you could do. You could go to. There's a browser, ChatGPT, right? You don't have to download the app.
No, you don't need the app.
Type in. Is it google.gemini.com?
Yeah.
Type that one in.
Is she on the app?
She's on the browser. Just to. Google.
Gemini came out.
Oh yeah, go to access that. If everybody's.
Thank you.
There you go. So type in, Gemini, type that first. Gemini, there you go. So click on that there.
That's
Yeah.
probably a little too detailed for this, but we can, when we have our kind of time at the end
That's
for
it.
questions,
Exactly.
if you want to talk about it, we
Straight
can talk
out.
about it a little bit. Yeah.
I wonder if it's because you're not
yeah,
logged in, so
it's
you
there.
might need
There's some-
to
there's
be able to, you
programmers,
might need to create, do you use
developers, all of
Gmail for your email? No?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It could be, well, we can
That's why these
we can
data
troubleshoot
centers
that during the
are being
after
built
session.
is
Try
because that's
ChatGPT
the
in a new,
data,
like go to
that's
this
the
one here.
internet, the brain
Did you
of
find it there?
AI.
Do we
Uh
want
huh.
the app or just use it?
It's up to you. I mean, I think
I do too.
The app makes it easier in some
Yeah.
cases.
Well, for me right now,
There you
I can't go to
Yeah.
the dark side all the time. Okay, now,
To continue to process the power of people
let's see. Okay,
prompting
so you
it,
go to
asking
the
harder,
ball right there.
more challenging questions. It needs the ability to quote
There
unquote
you go.
think.
And then hit
right?
no, that should do it right there.
No, it constantly evolves, constantly develops,
Okay, there, that
constantly
plus button's
gets
just sitting there.
faster, can
Okay,
do
so
more.
you do have to be. Oh, it's telling you. So you
the
need
the
to log
next
in,
kind
but-
of
Oh, maybe not.
wave of AI is
Oh,
like
good, okay.
more autonomous things. So you'll see
There
a
you
lot
go,
more,
that's it.
lot more of that.
You got to it. So you can take a picture.
Haptic feedback is it's like a physical thing. It has nothing to do with AI. It's on your device. It's like when you hard press on your phone, you feel like a little buzz. That's haptic feedback.
I asked ChatGPT and it's not telling me, doesn't it?
Oh, it didn't do it? Oh, weird.
Yeah, that is strange.
Okay. But yeah, you can use, so explainer is one rule. You could also use it for brainstorming. So if you just are wanting to start a project, but you don't know where to start, you could ask ChatGPT, help me brainstorm a few ideas for, scrapbooking or whatever it may be. And then it'll start there. It's also good for an organizer. So if you're packing or creating an event planning, so if a party or one of your kids are getting married or anything like that, then you're able to help plan with that a little bit more and use ChatGPT. You can have it help with drafting letters. So I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to write an awesome thank you letter to the library or to anybody, this is really good for that. Or if you want to write a more technical letter, say you are having an issue with your insurance or with Medicare or Social Security, ChatGPT, you can say, hey, I'm having this problem. I need help drafting a letter that, we all I ride the Lyft service, and so I've dealt with Social Security and Medicare and all that stuff my entire life, and I hate dealing with them. Guess what? I can now go to ChatGPT and I can say, here's the problem that I'm having. Help me draft a letter, and then I, being the person who knows me the best and the person who knows the context the best, can go in and edit the letter, again, being that human in the loop, and I can say, or I can edit it, or I can approve it, and then I can send it off. Honestly, I've had many successes doing that. More than, I mean, I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, and I know how to get my way, but doing it in a more technical way with ChatGPT has also proven to be a lot more effective than just yelling at people.
I think that's it. Because if you're frustrated about something or you just got emotion in it,
they have a question.
you can start with your own email, and if it will take the frustration out of it, and it'll just make it, it's structurally a great, well-organized email, but also it's nicer than maybe I know from my personal experience, I could be, it was something with my kid's school, like 6 or 7 months ago, and there was something happening, and my original email was definitely, I thought when I first wrote it, I thought, oh, this is great, it's very nice, and then it comes back through AI, and it's a little bit more sanitized and a little bit more, the tone's just more, I don't know how to say it, nicer, maybe. Yeah, finessed it. That's a good way of saying it. Yeah, question.
I have a question to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Once the letter is written and you're ready to send it, how can you print it? Physical.
I just email it usually, but you can copy and
print
paste
it.
it into a document, or you can copy and paste it into.
Assuming you use the free version.
Yeah. It's still copy and paste it, or download it, or however.
Do you use like Word, any editing documents on your computer? Can you can print straight from ChatGPT? You can't. There's no print.
You
so you have
can
to copy it.
Yeah, you can PDF, or if you can access Google Docs is free. You can copy and paste it into Google Docs and then print it from there.
How do you print? Because however you print, I would do it. However you could send it to yourself. I would put it into an email. Yeah, put it into an email and send it to yourself that way, and then however you print other things. Because you can print your email for sure.
Yeah. Go to the next one.
Next slide?
Yep.
Okay. Did I get it? Oh, there we go. All right. We kind of covered a little bit of this, but this doesn't hurt.
Go ahead.
We've definitely talked about this one. It's not a truth machine. Here's the other thing too is depending on the date of the most recent model, the information that you get back might not be the most current data, which is why Terrence said at the beginning, if it's a real-time event, it's often better to still use Google. But you can, so what might happen is you could get information back that doesn't look current. You could ask the AI then to go back, because again, it's a conversation. Remember, it's not just, you don't just ask the question and they get the response and then it's over. You can continue to go back to it. And so if you see something that's dated, you can say, please look at the current internet and find more current information. But that is something to always be aware of, right? That the models, it all depends on the date of the model and how the most current information that the model might have access to. We also talked about this, not a professional, it's not a lawyer, financial advisor, a doctor, so anything, it's a great source of information. You can take that data to your financial planners, right, to your doctors and legal professionals.
Can you?
Yeah. Oh, slideshow. Sorry. Yes, that's very good. Very good suggestion. There we go. It's like having light all of a sudden in the dark room. And then, yeah, the private diary part of this, right? And I'm guilty. Obviously, passwords, bank number, those kinds of things. But I'm guilty of giving it too much information. But I'm also not, I'm not concerned about it. I'm not putting anything in there that I would, be in legal trouble or anything like that, or, for sure not Social Security numbers and things like that. But I do put my personal information because it makes the information I get back more interesting. But I do not recommend that, right? That's not something that anybody should recommend. You're going to, as you work with it more, you'll develop your own comfort level or lack of comfort level, right? So you'll just need, but start like this. This is the way to start in it, and then you can start adjusting your own comfort levels.
Especially for those of you who have a paid version of ChatGPT or any tool, a lot of them now have connectors where you can connect your ChatGPT or AI tool to an external website. As an example, my financial institution, US Bank, now allows me to connect to ChatGPT. So if I wanted to, for example, financial plan, or if I wanted to look at my budget or do anything like that, personally, I will never, ever, ever do that. That is the scariest thing ever because I'm too careful with, I just like to keep track of my own money and don't trust an AI tool to do that. But they have these abilities out there, so it is just, again, another thing to be cautious of. You can do this. It is okay. Like there are, back-end security measures put in place so that way a nefarious actor, quote unquote, is not going to come in and steal your money. However, you should still be very, 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 very cautious about what personal information you are giving it. So I, like Shaw, have given ChatGPT personal information, but not my bank information, not my social security card, not my address, anything like that, because it's, I don't know who's on the other end of that, and I don't know who's using it and for what purposes.
Yeah.
Even if it is benefiting me. So this is why we just are cautious of like, yes, use these tools, have fun with them, but at the same time, pump the brakes when you are wanting to use it for things like that.
Yeah, and there's a question in my mind too, is how much more the fact that these get used in training future models, that is, that's kind of a concern. But ChatGPT is not selling the data. The data that we give to Google when we're searching for things, they can't attach it to you as an individual. It's all anonymized, but they're still selling that data. That's why Google and why Facebook are two of the largest companies in the world, and they don't sell any products, right? Because we're the product. They're giving our information, what we're searching for, what we're clicking on, all of that. Even when we go to websites, they know how far you scroll down on a web page. They have a little heat map that shows up to see where you're spending more time on a web page. And all of that data they're using to make the web pages better, to sell you more products, right? To see, do you click on the orange bar more than the green bar, the buy now button, right? So they're using that data. So AI, I don't think, is a dramatic departure from the data that we've already been sharing with, the internet, you might say. Yeah.
So if your employer has an AI tool that
Mm-hmm.
says it's going to have personal health information out there, does that mean like it's staying within the institution?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yep. So we work at an institution at Portland State, and so our institution has Google Gemini that students, staff, faculty, anybody can access. There is an acronym, it's called FERPA, that protects student information. It's like HIPAA, and I'm assuming it would be the same thing at whatever office or that you're working at. If you're inputting information, they probably have HIPAA guidelines or some other guidelines that they follow to not sell or not include your information and training data.
Yeah, when they sign that contract, it's specifically you cannot use the data that our company is inputting in your training,
Yep,
future training
our
models.
Gemini even says that when you go to start a new chat at our university, it says your information or your chats are not being used to train new data or new models.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Go ahead.
And yet, could these same systems be hacked? Could that
It's very, very unlikely, but I mean, it's not 100%.
Well, I think and if OpenAI or the companies were hacked themselves, your data's anonymous. I think the greater concern is if your personal computer, you click, you get that text message. My dad's really bad about this, where he gets a text message that sounds like it's an old friend. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a long time. Right? They're written in a way, they know exactly what you want to hear and what we want to hear. And so you click on that, and suddenly you click on the wrong link in that conversation. Now it has access. That's the greater danger. It's not these companies being hacked. You have to have more, personal.
And then I won't stick too much on this because I want to get us to some more demos. But we mentioned earlier that AI can hallucinate. It wants you to continue to use it, so it will continue to give you information, even if it may, quote, sound correct. This is why you always want to double check things, especially if you're looking up new things, or especially if you're looking up information that may be very far away from your knowledge base. This is where I would not go to AI first. I would go to to Google and then find an article about what it is I was looking at. So for an example, if I wanted to know more about haptic feedback, I don't know anything about it. I would not go to AI first. I would go find a scientific article about it, or a YouTube video about it first. Because again, it can hallucinate, and most often does. So it's just be careful about what information you're asking it and what information you're giving it.
And that phrase right there, the confident but wrong, I think that's the part that's so misleading, because it sounds so confident and so smart, the response is giving, but it can be wildly wrong.
We've all had those friends, right? We've all had friends who...
I think I might be one of those friends, actually. All right,
Okay,
we go to the next. All right, here we go. Do you want to?
This is you. It's all you.
Okay. So what we wanted to start do was talking a little bit about the best way to talk to AI. And so in computer science, there's a phrase that they always use called garbage in, garbage out. You may have heard that. And so, not that this is garbage, but the quality of the question that you ask directly determines the quality of the response that you get. And so we wanted to start with this very first example where you might be planning a trip to Europe. And so you might start with something you could start with something general. In fact, if you're a new user of AI, you probably would start with something just like that. But what we wanted to do is contrast that against something that starts to add a little bit more, and there's an acronym we're going to show you in the very next slide that starts to give it more context so that you will get more customized results back. And so contrasting that, tell me about Italy, or planning a trip to Italy, versus I'm planning a 7-day trip to Rome. 2 adults in their 40s, 50s, whatever. We like history, fine dining, light walking. Please give us 3 ideas, right? This is a great, sort of intermediate prompt that I would use. It knows about you, what you're interested in, right? And you're even telling it, please give us this, this outcome right here. In fact, that's what we wanted to do. In fact, when do you want to do that, Terrence? We were talking about having some time just to give people to ask specific questions. Everybody here is working on some kind of project. Right now I'm doing a lot of landscaping in my yard, and I've got all these plants and bushes, and I don't know when I'm supposed to trim them. Can I do it in the middle of the summer? Do I have to wait for fall when it's gone dormant and it's cold and it's no longer in a growing season? And so I take these pictures, right, and I upload them. So we wanted that was that list at the very beginning. I won't go all the way back to it. I was about to. But we wanted to give time for you to work and start working through some of these conversations, using this as a jumping off point.
Yeah.
You want to add to that?
No, I was
Okay.
going to say, why don't you go to the create, and then...
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start? You want me to hit?
Go ahead.
Okay. There's a million of these acronyms here, but they're all kind of speaking to the same exact thing when we talk about how do you talk to an AI. And so it's just a little memory device about what are some of the things that you, and this is important, that you might include in your prompt. And a prompt is just what you're asking, right? Instead of a Google search, it's a prompt is the phrase that we use if you're not familiar with that. That does not mean that you should use every one of these categories anytime you're talking to AI, right? Because this could end up a page long if you're including all of these details. Depending on the complexity of your question, or if you're working on a complex project like maybe planning a trip to Europe. I mean, you're starting to get into a little bit of project management right now. So you might want a spreadsheet, right? It could organize, and AI can do that for you. You can output a spreadsheet with everything organized. But some of the things that you would or could include this right here. So starting with the character or the role. This is the part where I said earlier, you have access to every PhD in the world in every discipline you can imagine. If you have plumbing questions, you might ask it, please act as an expert plumber, or a, what's the phrase for not a journeyman plumber? What would be the opposite? A master plumber,
Sure.
maybe something like that, right? But you call in that expert. Obviously, you're going to have to tell it what you want what you're doing, right? What the task is you want it to accomplish. This is one of those ones when we look at examples where you might not need that every time, depending again on the complexity. If it is a complex question, you might need to say, here's something that I'm looking for. In fact, if you have a friend maybe who's planned a trip, this would be, and they sent you a document with all their itinerary and everything listed. That would be a great thing to add into the AI. I'm trying to do something like this, but my trip is over here. Help me recreate this thing. And then write more of the tasks, all the other details. Audience, this is something maybe more if you're writing something for an audience or
Write a letter.
Letters, yeah, there you go. That's a great example.
Or
so
hosting a party if you want to describe who's coming over.
Great, that's great.
What types of foods or challenges they might have.
Dietary restrictions, things like that. That's great, yeah. Format, this is now starting to get into, well, I'll give an example. Sometimes when you ask the question of the AI, you just get too much. Right? I mean, it could be a page and a half of information. It's really hard to parse through that, and you don't want that information. So when we come to type of format, actually both of these kind of speak to this, but you might say, I don't want long paragraphs of information. Please limit it to bullet points. And then if you're talking about exclusion limits, please limit this to no more than 250 words, right? And so then it's more digestible. It's easier. And then if you want to go into more details, you might say, right, great, now I know this, now I want to go into, talk to me more about this specific thing that I really liked.
We have a question?
So, for instance, to give an example, would this be a request for a task? So the other day, I was going over to a friend's house, and I did not want to go to the grocery store, and I wanted to bring a cocktail. So I said I had rum, I have tequila, I have this, I have simple syrup, I have pineapple juice. Like, I only listed off what I had in my cocktail bar, and I didn't have anything that I didn't have all the ingredients to normally make a margarita or an old fashioned, which I love. But I did want to go to the store. So I just said, this is what I have, these ingredients. Can you come up with five cocktails
Yeah.
out of what I had, thinking, okay, if it comes up with something good, then I don't have to go to the store.
I do this for my what's in my refrigerator. There used to be a website called Epicurious that did the exact same thing. You could put in whatever your ingredients are, and it would tell you what to make. And now AI does that for you. So,
well, and it's not just what the recipes that are in Epicurious; it's all the recipes in the world.
Yeah, around the world. Right?
Request for tasks or
I think it'd just be like that would be a request.
Yeah, I mean, what's missing from this is context. I'm just realizing, and that's kind of the big one that I'm thinking of, because it's really not. Context is, I think that would be more contextual piece of information. Got a question here, though.
Well, no, I just asked it to write an obituary for a generic obituary.
Okay.
For somebody who would like to eat Thai food at snow skiing, and I really see what you mean, but you can tell it's generated by AI.
Yeah. Well, and that's the difference between if you give it more information, more context, or anything in here, it will start to sound more and more human. Because if you, and that's where, if
I published this in the newspaper.
it's,
It's easy and it's.
I mean, that's the, yeah. Well, it's shockingly good with how little information it has. I think that's the, but if you do want it, if you want a good output, then yeah, it helps to give it a lot more information.
That's where the human comes in and says, yeah, I knew this person. It was this matches what I wanted to say.
Well, and the nice thing too about starting with your own draft is it hears your voice, and it can start to replicate. And you could even say, please don't change my words, because that's might be the thing that it starts to do is it'll rewrite it in maybe more of a poetic way or what it thinks an obituary should be. But please use my words and try to retain my voice, my writing voice. So yeah, the more you write there. All right, let's see. Okay, so actually this speaks exactly to what we were just talking about, which is you've got some ingredients in your fridge. And this is where I love taking a picture of what's in my refrigerator because it will recognize, I don't even have to say it, right? It will even say, well, it looks like you have some, it's a little bit behind maybe. It looks like you might have some cottage cheese back there. I couldn't really see. And then it will start tailoring it. Do we want to do this? Do we want to give a little bit?
Let's spend
Okay.
5 or 10 minutes on it.
So let's do this. I'm going to go back to the very beginning because what the ideal thing to do is, and this was meant to be just a brainstorm right here, which is, what are you working on in your own life? There's a million different things. Do you have something to write to your HOA that needs to be nicely worded? Grandchildren and grandchildren, gift ideas, right? That's where I use it quite a bit. My cousins have kids that are younger than mine, and I don't know what a 5-year-old wants anymore. But the AI does. Somehow it knows.
Actually, your Mac thing is a perfect example of how to use AI, because you can tell it what you want to use it for. You can tell it what you don't want. You can tell it what plans you have in the future, and it will be a Mac expert for you and basically suggest what you should have.
I think that's the big.
I also used to work at Apple, so I could do that too.
But I think that's the big cognitive leap in the AI, which is we're used to working with Google where you have to give it a sort of a, limited maybe 4 or 5 words at the most. Now you just think of the AI as your
friend,
your PhD friend.
Yeah.
Or your friend maybe with a, a little safe distance.
10-foot pole friend. But yeah, you could just have the conversation like you're having a conversation with a person, and it will generally talk to you back like a person and also give you links that you can click on. And then you can take that information, you can go to the Apple store, you can say, I'm looking for this computer for these reasons, and the specialist or the expert at the Apple store will likely agree with you or say, have you thought about this? Because they work on sales and they're likely going to upsell and all of that. But yeah, you can at least start there, right? This is the keep the human in the loop, right? As long as you keep yourself as the person to make the decision, as the person to prompt it, this is where AI is not going to overtake the entire world, right? We're not HAL 9000.
Yeah, we were going to start with has everybody seen Space Odyssey 2001? Yeah, I think that's one of the big concerns about AI, right? We were gonna start with that. Partly because that is the fear, right, of so many people. I think we took this slide out, but maybe we could just talk very briefly about that, sort of the robot revolution, or the AI taking over. There are people that are deep in AI. In fact, who they call the godfather of AI, his name's Jeffrey Hinton. He used to work for Google for many years. He just left because he had some concerns about the research that they were doing. He thought the AI was getting too powerful, and he thinks that we should stop the research immediately, full stop. AI, unfortunately, the U.S. can't stop AI research right now, partly because it's a matter of national security, right? The AI wars right now. In fact, the reason Intel got bailed out by the government recently is because the microchip industry, the microchip industry is so important to artificial intelligence. So the wars of the future is who has the best AI model is potentially who has the greatest global power, right? It's a geopolitical concern. So we can't, unfortunately, can't stop AI development. What we can do is put guardrails up, and for future development. But even then, now we're in what's more of called the narrow intelligence age. So it is like having a PhD, and it approaches what looks like it's better and smarter and faster than a human, because it is. It comes right up against that sort of deadline of, or not the deadline, but the limits of what a human can do. The next phase that the researchers talk about is AGI, or artificial general intelligence. And that's where the AI becomes smarter and faster and better at humans, better at everything that humans could do. From there, we get to superintelligence, and that's where it's another factor beyond, right, what we can even, and now it's HAL 9000. It's making decisions in space that can override what humans want. The famous line, you know it, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that. The mission's too important to let you compromise the mission. We're not in that age right now. A lot of it's very speculative also. We don't know that we'll get to that. There's all, like you saw, sort of there's plateaus in the research, and then it goes up, and then it plateaus again. We don't know where we'll be, but.
What about AI that's being used in the medical profession? I read frequently in the Times about how people go into the emergency room or whatever, and it's the AI that's diagnosing them, but it's not correct.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the person and you have a doctor standing next to you and some nurse is holding up her AI, where does that put you as far as making decisions about your own body?
Yeah.
You want to
Oh,
start?
I was just gonna say I experience this. I go to physical therapy and I go to the doctor, and they use AI for their notes and their stuff, and like it makes me a little bit like you're taking the person who's there out of it, and that's where I think it's like not the greatest, and that's where I put, I don't want my doctor, and I've even expressed this to them. I ask them not to use the AI tool when they're working with me, because I don't want, but also I don't want my data trained on, whatever, because that, but I think that's where, you knowing yourself and you knowing your body and being adamant about, no, I don't accept that, and let me go find somebody else, or let me go. I realize it's a lot easier said than done.
It's like calling Comcast for tech support.
Well, that's where AI can help. Maybe AI can help you write a letter to your Comcast or to the doctor and saying, I don't accept these, or however it may be.
And then is extended to when
Yeah.
you go in for a general
Yeah.
checkup and your doctor says, do you mind if I record?
I say no.
You say no.
I say no.
Yeah, I had that happen to me just last week. Doctor used AI, ended up getting a prescription for Prozac, which I've never taken before. Something weird happened, but you have the option. They'll say, do you want me to use AI? Do you mind? Next time I'll say, no thanks.
Yeah. So the flip side of that, until 6 months ago, my uncle he taught medical school, UC Fresno. He just retired, but they're using AI in the medical school there, and it's all trained on, all the research and the cases from all the great medical journals across the world. So the flip side is there's a doctor who maybe went to medical school 40 years ago who's trying to treat you, who can do his own research, but the AI can do it so much faster. And so there's a balance in there, I believe. I don't know what that balance is, but there certainly is. I think if I'm being diagnosed and I have a rare condition, I do want my doctor to have access to the artificial intelligence, because it can see those anomalies, those strange things that might not ping for the doctor, but pings for the AI, because it's statistically, all right, what do they call that? The outlier. Thank you. Yeah, statistical outlier.
That's like when I was talking to, and we started Dr. Robert Wachter Jr., no, I don't know, his book.
Yeah.
And 2026, and he's a consultant to a lot of Silicon Valley startups who are using AI.
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah, that's right.
But and also, yeah, the fact that there are people who that have complicated conditions and their medical records are longer than Herman Melville's medical
Yeah, yeah.
and the doctor's waiting to see 4 patients in the waiting room. And so, as long as there's a human being who's trained, because medical advances are happening so quickly, as you said.
Advances, and there's no way for a human to be able to keep 4 pages of medical notes in their brain at one time. We just don't have that cognitive load. It's not, and that's what computers are great at, right? Storing vast amounts of information and then processing it. Yeah.
You mentioned something about the image creation
Yeah.
earlier. Yeah, you want to say a second one?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we have a good friend that every time it's somebody's birthday, he'll mention something about the person's birthday, where they live, what they're interested in, and it'll make a fun image about them and with birthday things. And so you can give a description. In fact, I should look in. Okay, let me put this down here. Change my glasses. We're running. We're almost probably at 5 minutes, I think.
We're about 3:40, so.
Let's see. Oops. Sidebar.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
my ChatGPT is working now. I connected it.
Oh, because the Wi-Fi.
Okay, so when you do it, usually there is a specific, like if you click on the images, is it big enough that you can see it up there? Okay. Images is really the great place to start, but you can do it within the normal body, but you'd kind of see it up here. So let's say, please create a fun birthday image.
It's always good to use please and thank you, because when
Celebrate.
the AI revolution comes, you want to be known as the one who said please and thank you.
That's so true. In fact, Sam Altman said that they spend $150 million a year because for every word you enter, it costs them money to process that. So all those please and thank yous cost them $150 million a year. But he says it's worth it. For what Terrence said, because you never know what the robots come to celebrate.
I think the ecological impact of AI is still very much so. I live out in Forest Grove and Hillsborough, and that's where a lot of new data centers are being built, and all over the country, people are pushing back on it, and I think we're going to come to an inflection point of, either they're not going to allow more data centers, or they are going to, put limits on it. But I think, as Shaw was saying earlier, we are at a point in our world that, if we don't do this now, then we are going to be so far behind other countries that it's almost, a national security thing.
Where does the water come from?
Why am I spelling too
The
much?
ocean and
Columbia River.
our rivers are
In the middle of Utah.
correct. That it has to be. I mean, in a similar way, like the agriculture and stuff out there. How does that get resolved? But these are where my skepticisms with AI come in, because I'm not a Luddite, but I also understand that it has such an impact to our world and my future.
We probably should have started talking about that. That's like the disclaimer to get out of the way at the beginning. It's an environmental nightmare. It's power hungry. It uses a lot of water, and the water that's used to cool those servers, you can't. Yeah, it's got heavy metals in it, and if that gets into the aquifer and groundwater, it'll be for decades. That'll be in there. That stuff doesn't leave for a very long time.
I believe some research in China has shown that they are using less water in their AI servers and stuff. So it's coming, but we just don't have the technology that they do.
I think what they're hoping is that as AI gets smarter, it can solve the problems that AI is creating at the exact same time. That's what the promise is promising.
Yeah.
So this is a silly example here, but the more detail, the better. We can just see what comes up in here.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Silly example, but like I said, more detail the better. But I liked it to be funny. Something that's exciting and as little detail as possible. Or sorry, as much detail as possible. this isn't even very much information, but we'll see what it comes out here. All right. It should be saying.
Take it off of Flash.
Oh, it's generating. Okay, I can see it still right
Oh.
here. Here it is. Okay, so, if you can actually insert a photo of whether there's a son or a grandson or a neighbor or something like that. And I've done it before. And in fact, I sent this. Oh, I should have taken an image of it. It was a picture of my son. It was I said, please show him playing a made-up sport. And they were all wearing squirrel ears and had squirrel tails. But it looked like a game of lacrosse. But inside, it wasn't a ball. It was something else. And he's sort of jumping up. And everybody replied back. I put it in a group text to my cousins, and they thought, "Oh, that game looks like so Portland. What even is that?" Everybody thought it was a real image. This isn't a great example, but it starts to give you an idea, because there's going to be some birthday greetings in here. Happy birthday, Leo. Of course, you got to give it the name, right? And yeah, there's some Portland, imagery there, but yeah.
Yeah, from Voodoo. Yep.
And you can make videos with it too, as you get better at this, which is even more powerful. We did a lot of questions here. I don't know that we have any other slides here that we wanted to show, but in the interest, is there any other questions before we wrap up? I think there's more questions than answers.
How they do it on the YouTube videos, but they show a person explaining the topic, for some.
In its AI? You're saying? Yeah, so they'll feed it all the information, and they will give it that context. Now, some of those image generation, it's not ChatGPT, or video generation. It's not necessarily ChatGPT and Gemini. It's probably a specialized tool. A good chance it could be if it's something really, really professional like that. We'd have to see, but that's my guess. But even then, these tools do a very amazing job, surprisingly. Yeah. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful. We'd love to come back another time and see you guys. I think we need just a time where people are at a desk with their computers or phones. You bring something that you want to work on, and we can kind of help you, guide you through that. But
yeah, what other questions? Yeah.
Just a quick question. I'm trying doing that.
Okay.
And I can try to make an image, but I can't create it right now. So it didn't let me do it. Are you logged in or something?
we might be on
You are logged
Oh,
in.
Strawberry. Yeah, it is.
That's probably it. I'm just using it from the
Yeah.
Gemini site without logging.
But gosh, I would guess that you can do a lot of that without logging in. You can do a lot of things without logging in.
There's science right now. I hear so much, I've read so much about neuroplasticity.
Yeah.
How, is this going to change the brain?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's changing it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means.
We are not as elastic as we used to be. I mean,
That's changing fast.
what did he say at the beginning? Our attention spans used to be 100 seconds. Now they're 15, 20 seconds. I mean,
Shorter than a goldfish.
yeah, we're seeing that in our lecture videos. We used to put 20 to 30 minute lecture videos. Now we have to break those down into 6 to 10 minute videos because people don't have the attention span or want to spend that. Yeah, exactly. So
Or can even.
what I say, our brains want to take the easiest shortcut. So it's up to us to make sure that we retain that plasticity, we retain that, critical thinking skill.
But my guess is, on the other side of that, there's research that will show that people are learning faster, better, if you're using the tool
There was
ethically.
that person at the beginning who said that they were using it for
They've learned
Spanish, and there was another person who was using it to learn just anything. And yeah, you do have access to that knowledge at your fingertips, and it's incredible.
I would guess, yeah.
Out of caution.
You said at the beginning, it's a tool,
Yeah.
so you have to be circumspect.
Mm-hmm.
Can we show the
Yeah.
red, green,
Oh,
yellow?
yeah, absolutely. What's that question? Yeah.
Well, it was kind of a question, but so like for using the microphone down there, I'm guessing this is how. So my dad's 80 years old, and he wanted to leave his memoir to my sister and I. And I think over the course of the year, he just spoke into ChatGPT on different sections of his life,
Uh-huh.
and ended up putting he must have, done it in stages, different parts of his childhood and college, meeting my mom, different things. And maybe then he cut and pasted it into the document. But I just, for Father's Day, just finished reading it for part of his gift. But it was so cool in that way. It was just someone literally, they never really had the time or probably the energy to write something.
150 pages, that's quite a bit.
But with ChatGPT, I'm pretty sure he just used the microphone and spoke into it from
Yeah.
his memory and
That's great.
pieced together, a whole memoir.
So I started I started doing something similar with my dad. Excuse me. There we go. So my dad's was just diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few months ago, and so we wanted to start capturing some of these stories. And so I had asked the AI for stories like, what are questions with that exact idea? You've seen Storybook, those advertisements, right? What a great idea. Well, you can do the exact same thing. You ask the AI for the prompts. I started recording him, and it was questions that I never would have thought of. Like, for example, what did kids get in trouble for in school when you were, in first? Isn't that a fun idea? Because it's different than it is today. And so you get those questions down, you record that, and you can put those audio files into the AI. And it doesn't have to be polished. It can be messy, and it comes out and outputs just a great story. That's good. That's a good example. We want to talk about this real quick?
I think if you take anything away from today, take this and know that there are kind of levels of where AI is appropriate, where it's not. And so when you're thinking about doing fun things, creating itineraries, writing quick obituaries, even if they're, fake or whatever, or planning recipes, your books, whatever, this is where AI is awesome. Awesome. It will save you hours. It'll bring out creativity in you that you may have had before, but lost over time. Where you want to be kind of cautious is when you're doing more complex interactions with the AI, when you're evaluating things that are personal to you. And then where you don't want to use it is passwords, social security, medical history. Don't ever have it make a decision for you. You always be the person to make that decision. But use AI to help you with the evidence.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
then you be the person to make that ultimate. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I think April has a few last words to finish up.
So the really good news is that there will be 4 classes at the ACC, and they will be co-led by me and teenagers who are members of the teen members of the LO Youth Leadership Council, I believe. And they also contacted me asking how that they could help with this topic. And so the first one will be on September 15th. October 20th, November 17th, and December 15th. You don't have to remember all that. Again, it will be in Hello LO, and those are going to be at the ACC. And so I'm hopeful that one we will have very short presentations, and then a lot of time for the teens to come around and talk one-on-one with you. And they're very interested in being helpful. So I know that you said you wished you had that time now. I think just sort of fortuitously, between the time we arranged to have this class and now, I've had the chance to book some of that.
That's amazing.
And then also really quickly, it helps us if you fill out an evaluation survey. And those are right by the desk on the left-hand side. And we love all your comments, good, bad, be honest. Any suggestions, they help us do better next time. Thank you. And we're so glad you came. The first one is September 15th. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the Adult Community Center here in Lake Oswego. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I don't mind saying that.
It's A-okay. It's A-okay. Thank you so much for coming.
I was really interested with you saying about, because my doctor
It depends